The Magicians podcast is brought to you in proud association with the Magic Circle, Alakazam Magic, and Gigio.
This is what people want to know, right? And I'm dying to know. We haven't seen you, and you don't get involved, and you get invited to things. You
don't get involved at all.
Why? Hello my friends, welcome to the Magicians podcast. My name is Richard Young, I'm your host. Thank you very much for pressing the download button and welcome to the show. My guest this week is Dominic Wood, half of the famous double act Dick and Dom. But before Dominic was known for the double act, he was a magician, a very successful one too. He was the 1995 Young Magician of the Year and had his own TV show performing magic on CBBC called Animal Magic. But after this, Dominic fell out of love with magic, and today we're going to find out why. But before we get to the interview, let's check in with our great friend Alan Hudson and find out what's been going on in the world of magic this week. Alan Hudson, what's going on, my friend?
Well, it's all about the Nyman episode, isn't it?
It's been a big one, hasn't it? We've had a lot of feedback. I think
the feedback from that has been phenomenal, hasn't it?
Unreal, actually. The most feedback I've ever had on a podcast, probably since we did Darren in 2016. So, yeah, people have gone crazy for it. It's sort of everywhere, and I know people have been sharing it. And obviously, I get statistics on the website as to how many downloads and things. And, yeah, it's done phenomenally well. People seem to have really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. When it started, I did get slightly worried for you. I mean, firstly, brilliant that he was disappointed that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I could hear that in his voice.
Yeah, he was.
He was livid, wasn't he? Livid that I wasn't there. But when he found out I wasn't there, and then he did that bit where he said, close your eyes and hold out your hands, I thought, oh no. I thought, he's going to do that thing that he did to me when I went round. And I won't wish that upon anyone. It was all fine, by the way. It's a joke. It was all fine.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, brilliant episode. Yeah, really good, wasn't it? There was so much in that I've listened to it twice actually.
Have you? I've had a few people say to me that his first interview that he did back in, I think, 2015 or 2016, that people say it's one of the few they go back and listen to quite often. He's just lovely to listen to, isn't he? He's just got a nice voice and nice temperament about him. And yeah, Matt Edmondson, by the way, says he listens to the podcast when he's going to sleep. Which I think he said on the episode that he did at the beginning of the series.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And I find that a bit weird, but yeah, I think Nyman's voice you could fall asleep to, definitely. So yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's some great things. Like thing about the magician's egos was brilliant. I really liked that. And do you know what? A friend of mine once said to another magician, it's a really interesting idea that he says, why do you think you're so good? Right, yeah. And I won't say who these are, but these are both well-known people in the magic world. And the other guy sort of went, "Oh, I don't know. I suppose it's because people tell me I'm good." And he went, "Well, how long have you been doing magic for?" And he went, "Well, since about 15." And he went, "Yeah, but didn't people tell you you're good when you were 15?" And he went, "Yeah." And then so that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you go, we get told instantly that we're good as soon as you can do a trick that fools people. You get told you're good. So why is it that magicians have got these massive egos? And there is, there's no one answer for it, is there? One, it could be the fact that we get paid loads of money for doing a double lift.
Yeah.
Right? That's like an obscene amount of money for doing very little. It could be that. It could be the sort of God delusion sort of thing that people are just telling us how good we are all the time, and so we start to believe it. I don't know. But I mean, he seems to think that mentalists are get it more than magicians. I would slightly disagree. I think magicians are just as egotistical as mentalists.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of could agree with both sides of that. Really, I think it depends who you mix with more, I guess, doesn't it? A little bit, perhaps. But
yes, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe at the moment he's been hanging around with more mentalists for whatever reason. And seen that. But yeah, loads of great stuff. And I really like that bit about rehearsals as well. I've never heard that analogy before about the start in the car thing. That being able to do the magic trick is like putting the key in the car and start it up. You've got to know what to do with it then. So you've got to be able to drive the car, haven't you, and drive it on a motorway. You've got to be able to drive it through traffic. You've got to be able to do a 3-point turn. You've got to be able to drive that car in lots of different situations, right? And so the rehearsing of that and the lessons of that, I've never heard that thing before, but I thought that was really good. So
I don't want to do any spoilers in case people have skipped to this episode and not listened to that one. But what did you think of the end?
I thought the end was excellent. Well, can we just say the end, because people listen to these in order?
Okay, well, so here's the thing. If you haven't listened to the Andy Nyman episode and you don't want the end ruined, skip forward to 3 minutes now on the podcast. Yeah, go ahead, Alan. Go ahead.
So the confrontation, it's called, wasn't it?
Yes.
From Les Mis, right? Brilliant ending. I laughed a lot when I heard that, and then but it did get me thinking. I was thinking, do you know there is another song called The Confrontation?
I did not know this. From what?
From another musical.
Oh, is there?
Miss Saigon.
Ah, well, it's the same two guys, isn't it, that did Miss Saigon, did Les Mis, so...
And then I thought, that'd be brilliant, right? Because as I was listening to it, I was thinking, hang on, you could do the other confrontation when you're interviewing Steve Wyrick, right? And then appear in Helicopter.
That's superb. Yeah, love the Helicopter in Miss Saigon. We saw it in Bristol, didn't we? We went to see Miss Saigon a few months back. What was it? It was last year, wasn't it? We went, and absolutely.
Yeah, we did. We love a musical, don't we? We are.
You saw it on Saturday. You saw Fiddler on the Roof. What did you think?
I went to see Fiddler. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, it's so good, isn't it? You know, and you know, last week on the episode, you're talking about that you can't get that feeling with the magic show, and you go, you can't really, but that is slightly unfair, I think, to magic, because it's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you don't really get that feeling with stand-up comedy either, or you know, or spoken word, or some other things, but you know, Fiddler on the Roof. Andy Nyman is made for that part, isn't he?
It's amazing, isn't it? It's just him, isn't it? Like. Oh, it's just incredible. I want to go see it again, actually, because obviously since I saw it, I've been listening to the music on Apple Music, and so I know the songs now as well. So I think I'd like it even more the second time I see it. So when it transfers to the West End. Also, I've just booked tickets to see Ghost Stories as well, which obviously opens at the Lyric in. I think it opens in May, doesn't it? So I've got tickets for that as well, which I just booked a couple of days ago. So yeah, it's very, very much all about.
Oh, good. Do you know what I was going to say there, and then I backed out of it, but I'll say it now in retrospect, I was going to say I'd see it again if I was a rich man. And then I thought, that's such a shit joke, I can't say it. But also, it's still in my head, so I can't let it go.
That's really, really good. That's brilliant. Honestly, good. As I said, it was the podcast we've had the most feedback over. Andy, thank you so much. Like, honestly, it's been amazing. It's put the podcast on the map, this series. I didn't make it to a podcast last week. I wanted to tell you about this. First time it's ever happened. As I said, this is episode 86, but also I've got a few more in the bank, so I've made over 90 episodes now, and it's the first time ever I didn't make it to a guest house. I broke down 7 minutes from their front door. It's
when you say you broke down, do you mean in your car? Or
in my car, yeah, not just me on the side of the road singing If I Were a Rich Man. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. But yeah, I didn't make it, so it's had to be rearranged. So that was a first. That was a terrible experience. How did your gig go with the Chinese?
It was annoyingly alright.
Was it really?
It's not a story. The only thing I literally did come off and go, oh well, that went alright, but that's no content for the podcast. I actually thought about the podcast the moment I came off.
Hey, I consider myself a broadcast journalist, and one of the things
I've heard.
One of the things I've been quite excited about, and I know we can't really talk about it, but I've been hearing about the names for Britain's Got Talent this year, and the people that have made it to the semi-finals. First of all, we can't say names, but there was a lot of very good magicians who entered this year, wasn't there? Like, a lot of them, like probably more than we've ever had, or we've heard about in years gone by, and they've all gone well. But of course, they've not all made it actually to the semi-finals. But But why do you think, I was going to ask you why you think so many top magicians decided this year was the year to give it a go?
I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it? Like you go, why was
Is it because there's
Why?
nothing going on? E.g., there is no TV magic being made, so it's the only way to really, raise your profile. Or am I wrong? Is there TV magic being made that I'm not aware of at the moment?
I hope there's no TV magic that we're not aware of. That'd be a terrible state of affairs, wouldn't it? We're supposed to be the people with the fingers on the pulse. No, I'm sure there is. There's always stuff being made that we don't know about, I guess. Why is it? Maybe there's just nothing else going on. Maybe you're right. And also, we've seen a few people in recent years have quite a bit of success from it, haven't we? So,
yes.
Like James Moore and all that sort of bunch, where they started to make magic all right on that show, then everybody else had kind of dismissed it as something where you wouldn't risk your career going on it because it could be a career breaker, really.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now they've pretty much said, unless you go brilliantly or absolutely terribly down your arse, we're not going to show it.
Yep.
So therefore, I think people that are good, decent professional magicians have gone, well, I've got nothing to lose because I'm not going to die.
Yes.
So therefore, because they don't want that. BGT have got no interest in that. Either they want a clip that will go viral because it's going to be great, or you're going to be some mad guy wrapped up in foil singing Hallelujah or something. Do you know what I mean? Like some crazy act. And unless you're doing one or the other, they're not showing loads of just average acts that you might see at a magic convention or something like that. So they're pointless showing them.
Yeah.
So therefore, we only really see positive acts, don't we?
We do indeed.
So maybe that's why. Yeah.
There's also another thing that I'm trying to find the names out to at the minute, which I find interesting, which is that The Illusionists is going to be in London in the summer, back at the Shaftesbury Theatre where it was back in 2014, and or was it 2015? I don't remember the exact year it was there. And I'm interested to know which magicians are going to do that. And I've had a couple of names thrown around. And
have you heard my name in the mix?
I've not heard your name in the mix, I'm sorry to say. No,
me neither.
I've not heard my name either, so I don't think we have to worry about that. Either of us we'll still be able to make podcasts through the summer, I'm pretty sure about that. But yeah, I'm interested to know who that lineup's going to be, because I think they're there for quite an extended period of time. So yeah.
Hey, let me tell you a thing I forgot to tell you about, which was the other thing that I really liked from the Nyman interview, was all that stuff when he was talking about how he hates all the buzzy stuff. So do you know what I mean? He was talking about how he hates it all when it's electronics and buzzy and apps and and all of that. That was good as well, wasn't it? Anyway, what's the new competition?
Very funny. Oh, you've absolutely thrown me under the bus there, haven't you? Yes, we have a new competition here on the Magicians Podcast starting today in association with the genius Mark Kirstein. And you all know who he is. He's been on this podcast before, and he created the trick Wiki Test, which was voted the Magic Cafe's Trick of the Year. It's been
I wish you'd have told me before it was Wiki Test. Oh, I feel bad now.
It's an amazing tech trick. It was been featured on David Blaine's last TV special, and also he created a trick called Earworm, which is a YouTube trick where an audience member kind of chooses a song, and when you turn their phone over, it's already playing on YouTube. It's brilliant. It was featured on Troy's Series 2. So I spoke to Mark, and we're going to run this competition. It's going to run until the 31st of March. And you will be able to win Wiki Test, which is an app that's worth £70. You'll get Earworm, which is worth £33. And also you'll get the Wiki Test Pro upgrade, which has loads of extra features, and that's worth an extra £28. So the total prize value is £131, or it's $138 in USD, because I think it's a slightly different price in America. And the way you win it is really, really simple. Just do what you did before for all the other competitions. Get yourself onto Instagram, post where you are listening to the podcast. You don't have to be in the photo. And tag in at the Magicians Podcast, at Magic Mark. And it's very important to mention here that Mark is spelt with a C. So it's MAGIC MARC. And Do you want to be tagged in it as well, Hudson?
Yeah.
And then tag in Alan Hudson Magic, and you'll be entered into a prize draw.
I think it just makes people work a little bit more if they've got a few more people to tag as well.
Agree.
Also, otherwise I don't get to see them because I don't get to see the Magicians podcast account.
You do.
I'd like to know how many entrants we got.
Yeah, well, I have no idea how many we'll have for this competition, but the competition starts right now. So get onto Instagram and post a photo, and you'll be entered into a prize draw. Here's a lovely little thing I forgot to mention last week. I realised when I listened back to it. So the person who won the Turner Watch last week, Robbie Stevens, is a young magician. So that went to a really good home. A young magician won the competition last week, and I didn't mention that. So, Hudson, this is a really interesting episode coming up today with Dominic Wood. And the reason is, Dominic, he's like Martin Sanderson. He disappeared into the ether, didn't he? And he's not been at magic conventions, and he doesn't get involved anymore. What are your memories of Dominic Wood?
I've not seen him for years. Is he friends with Tim Clothier?
So yeah, you're going to hear about this. He went through the Young Magician of the Year competing against people like Tim Clothier and Keelan Laser and Matthew McGurk and Oliver Tabor and all these wonderful young magicians. And so, yeah, that was kind of his era. And yeah, he fell out of love with magic. And you may have seen that he did a tweet when it was booked that he was going to appear on this podcast. He did a tweet saying that he was going to be on the podcast and that it was going to be a strange experience for him because of the fact that he hasn't mixed in the magic world for a long, long time. The tweet said the following: interview with Richard Young tomorrow for the Magicians podcast. Not sure if I'm looking forward to it or not, as I fell out of love with the art that put me on the map years ago. This could be rich conversation. He's a good lad though, so that's a good start. Hudson, are you excited about this one?
Yeah, well, do you know what? You've told me about this in the past. You said it's a really, really great episode.
This is great. Okay, here we go, Hudson. Can't wait to speak to you about this next week. This is Dominic Wood. Dominic Wood, welcome to the Magicians podcast.
What a great pleasure to be here. A world of which I have not stepped into for a very long time.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I've got a question to open with, but I'm not sure it's a question really. It's more of a statement, which is on behalf of myself and all of the listeners, which is, where the bloody hell have you been? I mean, you know, we don't see you at conventions, you're not at the Circle, you never took the Grease activism like you promised us you would.
Yeah, did I say that? Did I say that?
You did.
Oh my goodness.
Let's start. It's really great to see you. And
Thank you.
Yeah, you were a few years older than me, going through all the Young Magicians Club and Junior Days and stuff like that. And obviously you were on my telly for years. Yeah. And I know because you did a tweet yesterday saying you were going to be on the podcast. There's a lot of people really excited to hear from you because you have been missing in action. Let's be honest.
Well, it's funny. It's something I'm starting to learn with the job I then got after my kind of World of Magic adventure, which was TV. And the thing about nostalgia is so strong. And I was on a delayed train on the way here, and there was a train that had mostly 20 to 30 year olds sat on the train, and suddenly one by one they started realising I was on the same train as them. I didn't have a hat on or any disguise or anything like that, and the appreciation for what I've done in the past and the nostalgia that they were being hit with was incredible. And we just all started chatting away about the old times and the old programs, stuff like that. And I can only imagine that when you were a young magician, when I was kind of doing a lot of the magic, it's the same kind of thing. You suddenly remember a lot about who influenced you and that whole world. I know that I still remember fondly the people who influenced me, who were like Richard Griffin and Phil Hitchcock and all those magicians. And so if I managed to make an influence on some people, then that's great.
You definitely
it's lovely.
You saw it yesterday on Twitter. There was a few magicians who came on and said you were the reason I got into magic, and you had the books and everything. And but let's go back. If I can be a little bit self-indulgent myself, because and that was, let's talk about when I was a kid watching you. So I think that's easier than you talking about when you were a kid, maybe.
Okay.
So Reading Junior Day, 1995.
Wow.
Keith Churcher.
Yeah.
You'd won the year before.
Okay.
It was actually my first ever magic convention I ever went to.
Oh, so you didn't see me win it? You saw the year after,
so
right?
Exactly. So, but you were introduced in the gala show that night as the winner from the previous year, and I think you had just won Young Magician of the Year, because this was late '95. This was like October
If
time.
I remember, if I had won Reading Junior Day the year before, I hadn't won. Oh, maybe I have won Young Magician.
Because you were 1995 Young Magician of the Year. weren't
that's
you?
right.
So Junior Day always took place in like October, November.
Yeah.
So I think I could be wrong, but it always sort of happens about April time, I think, doesn't it?
Do you know? I can remember I did a gala show, or maybe it was the time I won it. And that's right. Simon Lee, who was the winner from Litchfield, and he was the winner 2 years before me of Young Magician of the Year, and he was there doing the gala show when I won Reading Junior Day, and he came over to me and went, "You've got it." I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You've won." I went, "What are you talking about?" He went, "You've won Young Magician of the Year. I'm going to put my prediction down. You've won. That's it." I was like, "Oh, well, that's nice." And actually, the year that I won Reading Junior Day as well, that year, I travelled to London from Devon to take part in a Marvin's Magic workshop on how to be a demonstrator. So it was literally cups and balls, dynamic coins. No, was it dynamic coins?
Yeah, that's the one.
And there was one other trick. What was it? Oh, it's a Svengali deck. Was it Svengali? Yes, it was one tapered. Yes, it was Svengali.
The way you work it out is that the dynamic coins paid for Marvin's drive.
Yeah.
The Svengali decks paid for the house, and then the thumb tips have paid for the house in Spain.
Yeah. Nice business model.
Easy way to work it out.
And I remember going up there, and they asked us one at a time to come up and have a go at demming to see how it was. And there was a guy in charge called Mark Paul, and another guy called Anthony Owen. And I can remember Mark. I did the demo, and I sat down, and I must have been about 14 years old. And he said to me again, he said, "I'm going to make a prediction." Who knew he was going to be a mind reader? And he said, "I'm going to make a prediction. It's in front of the whole room in London." He said, "You're going to win tomorrow," because the competition was the next day. I went, No, my act isn't a talking act. I do a silent act with doves and stuff like that. He went, "I don't care. I can just tell you're going to win tomorrow." I went, "Oh my God, that's weird, isn't it?" So I won. That was great. And there's obviously something about that people can sense that kind of determination that you have and that focus that you have. And for me, it was utter focus. Coming anywhere but first and coming anywhere but winning was not an option. Full stop, period. I can remember getting a copy of Abracadabra, and I was flicking through it, and I saw the advert for Young Magician of the Year 1995. Now, this was in 93, I think it was, and I was at a boarding school, and I used to get it sent there. So I used to read it, and I can remember reading up about Simon Lee, who had won it, and I can remember reading up about this guy 2 years before called Philip Hitchcock. And everyone was like, "Phil Hitchcock, you've got to see Phil Hitchcock. Oh my God, it's all about Philip Hitchcock." And I went there and I watched him perform, and I was absolutely blown away by his act and his stage presence and his charisma. It was just brilliant. And I remember looking at that Young Magician of the Year advert for 1995 in 2 years' time, and I remember looking at it and I went, "I have got to win that. There is no other option." And so, I you know when you hear about people, tennis pros, who start from the first thing in the morning, they play tennis non-stop all through the night, so they've got blisters on their hands. I did the same. I literally worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. There was nothing I wasn't doing that wasn't the act.
Well, I've also heard that someone told me that when you came on to do your act in the Young Magician of the Year that day, the first dove flew away.
Who told you that? Was that Clothier?
I can't remember.
Clothier.
I've spoken to
Paul
a few
Smith?
people about it. But
I could have been Martin Rowland.
mate, the dove flew away.
Yeah.
And you stopped your act.
Yeah.
And walked off.
Yeah.
And then said, "I want to start again."
Yeah.
And you did.
Cocky.
And then you won the competition. And there's a video clip on YouTube of you, the dove, you trying for the second time, and the dove flying back to you. Yeah. And there's a huge ovation from the audience. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a controversial.
Was it all planned?
It was quite. I suppose it was kind of controversial in a way, because what happened was the equivalent of, when on X Factor, when you see the little girl walk out, she bursts into tears, and then everyone goes, "Oh," then they walk off, and then Nat and Dec come on and go, "Oh, you're right, man, you're right, Pitt," and then they go, "Should we have another go?" and everyone goes, "Hey!" And when they do it the second time, everyone's on their side, right?
Yeah.
I think it might have been an element of that. And to make the story even weirder, when the dove did fly off, and then it kind of flew into a wall and flew down, it wasn't hurt. But then Ali Bongo, of all people, picked up the dove and then rushed backstage and then got lost at the Polka Theatre in Wimbledon trying to find backstage. And eventually he found me, and I said, "Can I start again?" Michael Colley said, "Can we start again?" He said, "Yes, indeed we can." But I suppose there are some people that said, you shouldn't have had a second go. That was it.
Good job you did though, right?
Yeah. I think so. I had everyone on my side.
You say yourself on the clip, which I found, that that the act then went flawlessly, and of course then you won. You become Young Magician. I want to ask you about when you win that title. which I never did.
Did you entered?
I've explained this on the podcast before. I was just too intimidated. The standard of like you and Keelan and
Keelan was big news.
Oliver Tabor and Matthew McGurk, like the
Tabor,
standard of you all were just I mean, I was like 11 years old. It just put me off. Like I just couldn't even imagine myself up there.
I've got to say, I don't know what the standard's like nowadays. I can assume it's very, very good.
It's
but,
not. And this is
it different?
I'm going to say it. The standard is not good now,
right.
And you'd be very disappointed if you saw it.
Really?
And I don't care if I get thrown under the bus for saying that. I've been to the last few junior days and things.
Don't tell me it's not progressed. I bet it's not progressed. I bet there's still butterflies on fans, and I bet there's still.
They're much more talking acts. Actually,
manipulation cards.
What you'd notice is they're not acts. They're just like they've learnt some tricks and they get up and do some tricks. There's a few that have an act, but they're not. Whereas back then you were all doing doves and candles and
Lance Burton-y stuff.
Yeah, like it doesn't really exist anymore. And if anyone's offended by my comments, then I'm sorry, but it's true. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not as good as it used to be.
Well, and hopefully, if you have heard that and you have entered recently, then get better. Yeah. do better. Don't take comments literally, and just try to do even better. It really is weird when you look back at that period. That it was. There was a lot of people who were very focused and very, very ahead of their game. Keelan was one, and me and him are still best mates. In fact, he told me to definitely do this podcast, so if it all goes wrong, it's your fault, kid. But he had his act with scissors.
Brilliant.
And he used like Enya, and then he moved on to... He did a classical act, which was great, with shiny scissors, and in the kind of traditional tailcoat, which I don't know why magicians still wear that. But anyway, it was that, and it was great to Enya. Anyway... He went away to make a documentary for children's BBC called The Lowdown. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I've got it. I watched it 100 times.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I've told Keelan this. When that came on, this is when I was trying to get onto TV at the time.
Were you furious?
I was. Okay, was I furious and jealous? No, I wasn't furious and jealous. Does that count as the same thing? I just wish that that was me. I was like, oh my God.
Were you confused as to why it wasn't you?
No. I was genuinely, I mean this, I genuinely really pleased for him. And I loved watching that documentary. Yeah. And I loved his determination. And I quite like the arrogance of, just at the end, the last minute, when he goes, you know what, I'll listen to what everyone's got to say and I don't agree with any of them. Yeah. And you watch, I'm going to enter again and I'm going to knock him dead. And he did. Yeah, he did. And he developed this act with fluoro scissors to Lord of the Dance or River Dance music. And it was actually a cutting edge act. It was right up there, in my view, with Topaz. And actually, in some respects, that inspired me to then get rid of my tailcoats and doves and then put together a new act, which was the one that was themed on the film Grease. But again, there was a lot of magicians around the time, like Franklin, who was the young German lad who made Radio Disappear. Who else? Greg Fruin. They were all kind of fluoro acts. And also there was this wave of people that were just forgetting the old way of doing it, like Lance Burton had set a trend. The Greg Fruins were all setting this new trend. And so I went, what can I do? And I was up in London with my mum had booked me tickets to go and see Grease, the musical, and I just watched it. And I heard the music playing, and I thought, God, this is interesting. Something can happen here. And then I thought, what's American? Then I bought the CD, and I listened to it again and again and again and again and again. And I thought, combs, and I thought sunglasses, and then I thought gumballs and all that kind of stuff. But the act was good, it was okay, and I won British Magical Championships with it. But I just then, weirdly, after that, it was around that time that I completely lost touch with magic. And I just didn't.
So it was around then? I assume this came years later that you were... No. Because I heard that you wanted to take... So my friend Jimmy, who everyone who knows me knows Jimmy's like my oldest friend in the world. I used to go to junior days with him. And he used to speak to you, and you probably remember him if you saw him in person. And he remembered you saying that you wanted to take the Grease activism, and that you felt it needed to end with a motorbike production.
Yes, absolutely.
So that was his memories of it. But did it ever get that far, or did it?
No, it didn't. The act ended. I do a dancing pink handkerchief to Summer Loving, and it was perfect. So it went doom, doo doom, doo doom, doo doo doom, and the pink handkerchief danced around. And actually, when I performed it at the Blackpool Convention to open the gala show, it went down like a cup of cold sick. I died on my arse. And I remember thinking, How can a year ago I do that act and the place went berserk? I mean, the room went nuts. And I remember, I think I'd had a few to drink as well. When they announced my name as the winner, I was like, yeah, go on. And I was with my mate Sophie at the time, who appeared there. And then a year later, I did it at the gala show, fell flat on its arse, absolutely died. But the good news about it is that because of that performance, I met my now wife. So that's great.
Yeah, we are going to touch on how you married a pop star.
Yeah.
Because a lot of magicians listen to this, need some advice in that area, so maybe you can help us out. So, yeah, this is... By the way, I realised, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, you are the second most famous magician ever to come from Exeter, other than Mark Leveridge, you know.
The second, so, yeah, he beats me hands down.
Absolute hero, that guy.
Isn't he just? He was a big influence in my I suppose teenage years as learning magic.
And Gary Jones, I've heard.
My God, how do you know Gary?
Mate, you don't know, because so Dominic explained at the beginning, he's never listened to one of these podcasts.
Yeah.
So he's freaked. There you go. You're freaked out by my research. I do good research.
You do very good
everybody
research.
Everybody knows me for good research.
So when I first started magic, my work experience job was to work in a magic shop, in a joke shop, a magic shop. It wasn't a magic. It was a joke shop. And I had sold some tricks as well. And I walked in there. And actually, that was where I bought all my first magic tricks from there.
And Gary was behind the counter.
Gary was behind the counter.
Yeah, because my friend Jimmy, who I mentioned, used to go on holiday down there as well.
No way.
And Gary used to talk about you. And so that's how Jimmy knew you used to go in the shop.
Yeah, that's right. And then he opened up one called Giggles Fun Shop on Trago Mills. But it was the one in Exeter. And I went in there and said, can I have a job working here selling magic? And they said, yeah. And I learnt a lot about performing for people behind that counter. It was very, very interesting experience. But he was fantastic. What a great magician. And there's a lot of these magicians that I found as well they don't want to achieve the big screen success, but they're better than any of the people on screen. But they're very happy doing what they do. Gary's one of them. A master of his craft. And he just stayed in Devon doing it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Actually, you're absolutely right about that. It is interesting, isn't it? Some magicians go for the telly and others just like to create or perform or whatever. So let's talk about your Dove act, which I absolutely loved. How did that start? You're like 16 years old and you're throwing the dove and it's flying back to you.
Yeah.
Now, I know because one of my great friends is Edward Hilson, who's a dove magician now.
Yeah.
You know how much time goes into the flyback of the bird. So who was helping you?
I can't remember. When it came to doves, there was a guy called George Blake who in Devon again. he did doves in kids' birthday parties and stuff like that. I can remember seeing him produce a dove. I think it was the most amazing thing in the world. And then I went to Supreme Magic, because that was in Devon where I come from, and I went there and I got a dove harness, and I think that was it. I can't remember where I bought my doves from. It was some kind of weird farm in Devon, and they happened to have this is before you could research it on the internet. I don't know how the hell I found out that he stocked Java doves. He didn't stock them for magicians. But the thing is, I had this love-hate relationship with doing magic with doves, because I'm a vegetarian and very pro animal welfare, and I was always so cautious and aware of using my doves that it actually restricted me in what I could do, because some people, when they have things like the invisible harness wrapped around them, it's not nice. It's really not nice.
We've actually discussed it on this podcast quite a lot, actually.
Have
about,
you?
Just about how the world's changing at the moment. In particular, more people are becoming vegetarian, vegan, and there's lots of change in the world. And we've been talking about, invisible harnesses. It's time they go, really, isn't it? And the first step for that is for magic shops to stop stocking them.
Yeah,
that's the first step, I think. So.
Well, I invented something that I tried selling in the little for sale place in Abra for a while, called the Lightning Dove Harness. And you still have to use it with a silk, but it gave the same effect of that instant appear. You didn't have to open a harness as such. So it literally was a piece of cloth, and I used it in my act actually for one of the appearances when the dove jumped onto the jumbo fan of cards at the very end. It was a nice little sting at the end, and that was a piece of cloth just wrapped gently over the wings, and it had a piece of loop, and now I just gently slide it inside my pocket. And also, some magicians would have like 20 doves inside their jackets. I'd have one in each side, and that was it. And I'd make sure they're all snuggled in there and they're all happy, and I'd only put them in literally the last minute before I went on, which was quite stressful. And then when you pulled it out into the silk, it would naturally try to flap its wings and would flap the harness open, so it would literally appear straight away. And that was my first attempt at trying to acknowledge animal welfare within my act. And then after a while I just went, you know what, this just doesn't feel right, so I stopped and let them retire, and they went back to where they came from and flew around.
When was the last time you did the dove act?
On the Animal Magic show, I borrowed some of Scott's doves. Scott
you?
Penrose's doves. In fact, I borrowed his doves to Rabbit as well. And he was there off camera with his remote control. And I did that on the Animal Magic show a long time ago. And it's interesting because I watched back some Animal Magic for researching something, and I needed a clip from it. And I looked at it, and it looks like it was filmed in 1940. I mean, it was rubbish.
So during the next part of the interview, I asked Dominic about the people that helped him with his career, and he said there were too many people to name. However, after the interview finished and we did the edit, he said he would really like to mention who they were. So he sent me this insert.
With regards to my life in magic, there's been a few people who have been my biggest fans, namely my mum and dad, who've been so supportive, and my brothers, also Sandy, my wife, and my boys. But in that funny old world of magic, there's been a lot of people who have influenced me or supported me or taught me, or people who were friends of mine within the magic world. And here are a few of them. And if I mess your name out, I'm really sorry. But Ron Heaver, Gary Jones, George Blake, Paul Smith, Wayne Dobson, Paul Daniels, Roger Barons, Brian Doddridge, Mark Leveridge, Keelan Laser, Duncan Trello, Neil Roberts, Philip Hitchcock, Tim Clothier, Matthew Stokes, Anthony Owen, Mark Paul, Paul Kiev. And of course, the ultimate name, this one person without whom none of this would have happened, and that's a guy called Sam Anstis Brown, who is a friend of mine and my old drum teacher, who showed me my first ever magic trick, the vanishing pencil. So thanks for everything, Sam.
After you win the competition, did you already know at that point, actually I want to be a television presenter? Or were you, as you just already talked about, were you did you have aspirations of being the next Lance Burton or David Copperfield?
So what came first? I think the two worlds collided early together. I remember I struggled really hard at school with dyslexia, and my three brothers were very academically able and great sportsmen, great musicians, and I struggled with everything. I found everything very hard, and I remember watching The Big Breakfast one morning and going, oh my God, this is amazing. And I watched Chris Evans on The Big Breakfast and I went, I'm going to do that as my job. Around the same time, my drum teacher showed me a vanishing pencil trick where you stick it behind your ear. And I watched that and I went, oh my God, that's amazing too. And then I got good at the magic, but in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to be a TV presenter. And I really knew I wanted to do that, nothing else. And my mates all said, you're going to do it, Woody, you're going to do it. That's what you're going to do. So I was like, okay. And then what I did is I knew that if I won those competitions, that I would be then to sell myself through as a unique proposition to TV controllers, which was a kids presenter that does magic. So not I wasn't selling myself as the next Paul Zenon doing tricks and tracks. I was selling myself as a presenter. So I was going to be a presenter in between all the links, in between all the programs, but I do tricks as well. Nice little angle. And actually that was the thing that got everyone excited. And it had never been seen before. And Stephen wasn't doing it either yet. I think So I think he'd obviously had the same ideas as well about having that as your crowbar to get in, because we were on the magic scene at the same time. I don't think he's done very well, has he? I think he's only got 15 shows a year, isn't he? But he's absolutely belting, and he's still flying the flag for magic really well, really well.
Yeah. So you end up in the broom cupboard, and you're. Yeah, I remember seeing you on the Friday Zone as well.
Oh my God, good memory, good knowledge.
I mean,
well done, Rich.
I even remember a terrible joke you did on it, which I'm going to say back to you.
Go on.
Which was, the joke was, I slept like a log last night. I woke up in the fireplace.
Oh my God.
There you go.
How
see,
about that?
Scary research.
Yeah, very good.
So around this, and then you you're going through the process then of jumping around different TV projects and things. And then where does the first book come from? Because did that kind of have to come from sort of the first magic series you did, or because you've written a lot of these magic books, which got you in a lot of trouble eventually, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a little bit. So the magic book came from, I knew I always wanted to write my own magic book, and I knew that a lot of the magic books out there for kids were just really boring. They were just words and some half-baked illustrations, and I wanted to make something that was very, very simple to follow. I mean, really simple. And I was about 19 at the time. And
so may I ask, is that linked to your dyslexia? You kind of wanted something that you say simple to follow, as in more visual.
Not
pictures.
Consciously, but I guess in hindsight, maybe it was. Because I remember I had so many magic books and I hadn't read any of them. And I used to learn from watching. Me and Keelan used to make compilation videos together, and it's what most magicians did around then. You make compilations and you'd learn, and I used to buy a lot of magic videos from, what was the name of the company called? God, they used to have loads of great like Shimada videos and stuff like that, Di Vernon and all that lot. Anyway, and I knew I wanted to make something that was very, very simple to follow, because I learned from video and I wish I could do from books. And so I handwrote, and I knew I didn't want the BBC publishing arm to take my book, because I wanted full creative control and I wanted it to be outside of the BBC. So I wrote in my scruffiest handwriting, which didn't take much, the whole of the book on sheets of A4, on the backs of the sheets of the A4, so that you could barely read it. And I gave it, because I think you had to, first pass had to be for the BBC. I said, do you want to commission this? And they went, no thanks. So I went, good, first stage. Then I typed it up nicely. Or I think I paid a company to type it up for me. Don't forget, kids, this is before the internet. And I took it to a company, Random House, and they looked at it and just went, brilliant, let's do it. So we did one, Simply Magic, then we did a few spin-offs, and then what I did was I thought it'd be a nice idea to tie in a tutorial video and magic sets. So then I approached Marvin's Magic, and I approached a company that doesn't exist anymore, a video company, and they made and I said I need to keep everything on brand, so everything's got to be sold together. And when you're 18, 19, that's quite a good kind of business model that I had going. And then, yeah, that was that.
So this is where my research lets me down, actually, and I need you to tell me the story, which is one of these books basically got you expelled from the Magic Circle. That's what I understand. Is that true?
It says that on the internet, and I must one day, when I can be bothered or have time, and I'm not being a dad, I will get round to rewriting Wikipedia. What it was that got me thrown out of the Magic Circle was revealing how to do some magic tricks on Dick and Dom in the Bungalow.
Right.
On a Saturday morning. That show was great fun. We had a lot of fun doing it. I used to do a little segment on it called Dom's Tricky Training, where I would perform a trick, teach a kid how to do the trick, they had to perform it, and if they did it well, then they got a certain amount of bungalow points. Very simple. And the tricks that I did were the standard tricks that either you can have been revealed on TV, that you can see in books, and the argument is people who are interested in learning buy the books, so it's not just for public. Whereas what I did was just revealing secrets. But the tricks I revealed have also been used as the sucker tricks. You know, like Silk and Egg.
Silk and Egg, yeah.
And then you do the torn restored tissue, and then you do the bit where the tissue's restoring the hand. Cut and restore, where you use the loop, and then you do the loop. Anyway, they were no different. So what I did is I did my research, and I said to the Magic Circle, hello Magic Circle, by the way, if you're listening.
They're a sponsor, by the way.
Are they?
So don't lose my sponsorship deal here. That's all you need to worry about.
I can match it.
Yeah.
So they said, well, it's probably a completely different load of people, to be honest.
Yes,
this was about
a long time ago,
15 years ago.
Right.
So they said, we're going to throw you out. And I said, well, hang on a minute. This person has done this trick. This person done this trick, and this person done this trick. I'll say Jeffrey Durham did the torn and restored, and that's what I'd shown. But he did it as part of a sucker effect, right? Yes. Needless to say, the idea of switching a torn tissue for a restored one was still there. That's what I did. The other one was, I think, a type of zombie thing. I think it was a bread roll stuck on a fork. And I was showing how to do a zombie type thing. Again, Joe Pasquale used to do something with a baby on the end of a stick and used to push it in. It used to pop up. Then he would throw it all away. And you'd see a baby on a stick attached to a cloth. And the other one was a cut and restored. I can't remember. I think it was Paul Daniels had done a similar thing with the loop and then restored it. And I said, look, I fully accept what I've done you don't like. If you agree to throw out those other people that I've mentioned, then I'm cool with it. However, what I'm not cool with is having one rule for one person because they've got credibility within your organisation, and I get treated differently because I'm doing a show that you don't like.
Yes.
Because a lot of people didn't like it.
Uh-huh.
And if you can justify why I go and they stay, then I'll accept it. And they said, we feel we don't need to justify our explanations. I said, well, you've got no argument to throw me out then, have you? Why am I being treated this way and they're being treated that way? This is the same tricks, the same revelations, and there was no explanation. Then they said you could come in with your producer and apologise to a grand jury of wizards. At which point, at 30 years old, I just went, do you know what? I'm busy. I've
Yeah.
just got enough going on, I felt it was sad, but it wasn't around the time, and I don't know whether Anthony and Andrew have said this on previous ones. There was a kind of witch hunt going on at the time. There was a kind of a conscious decision. I think it was around the time of The Masked Magician. They were like, anyone who dare do this, defy the magic circle, we will throw you out. And there was. I don't think Andrew's still not. He's still not a member, is he?
I don't think
Andrew
so.
O'Connor.
No. He's out of control. That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, do you know? There's a side to me. There is a side to me that really hopes the public are listening to this a little bit, because I now hope they believe that's what the magic circle is like. There's someone sat on a table with a deep voice like that.
Well, it was very strange, and I think I understand why they were doing what they were doing, and why they were saying what they were saying. I think it was a bit strange, and they have tried to invite me back subsequently. They have tried.
I know this. You've been invited to lots of things actually, and
I have,
people
and I say
try
no
and
every
get people
time.
try and get in touch with you. And I know that. Kevin, who runs the Young Magicians Junior Day, still happens. It now happens at the headquarters, and they try to. You should come down.
Nothing.
You should come down.
I've been invited to Blackpool to do conferences, to do lectures and stuff like that.
So let's get to it.
I can't deal with it.
Well,
I can't deal with the magic world anymore.
So let's talk about this. Is why this is what people want to know, right? And I'm dying to know why you said it on the tweet. You fell out of love of magic.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen you, and you don't get involved, and you get invited to things.
I don't get involved at all.
Why?
The Magicians Podcast, brought to you in association with the Magic Circle, the world's premier magical society. Are you ready to join the world's most exclusive magic club? Visit themagiccircle.co.uk to find out more.
Gigi-O, free for 30 days. Be a pro, get Gigi-O.
Keelan Laser says he honestly can't live without it. What's he talking about? Well, Gigi-O, of course. Top professional magicians love using Gigi-O to manage their bookings and admin. It's an easy-to-use web-based software that takes care of your inquiries, contracts, invoices, payments, and reports. You can generate professional PDF contracts in seconds and allow your client to agree them online quickly and conveniently. It will even automatically update the diary on your phone. Read what other magicians say about Gigi-O and take a free 30-day trial right now at getgigio.com, spelled GETGIGGIO.com.
Whether you're new to magic or a seasoned professional, Alakazam Magic are here to help. Alakazam have been supplying magic to magicians for well over 20 years. Not only do we carry all the latest and greatest magic tricks, books and DVDs, but we also manufacture one of the finest ranges of magic tricks in the world. The Alakazam name is synonymous with great customer service, educated advice and honesty. So if you're shopping for new magic, make sure you check out our website, www.alakazam.co.uk, or pay a visit to our fully stocked shop.
And because you're a podcast listener, you can receive 20% off the Alakazam Online Magic Academy. If you haven't taken a look at this yet, you absolutely must do it this week. It's a fantastic new way of learning magic. There's a great community building up on there, and there's new content every single month. Go to the Alakazam website, and if you want a 20% discount, just enter the code MP20 at the checkout. 20% off the Alakazam Online Magic Academy by entering the code M for Mother, P for Peter, 20 at the checkout. We haven't seen you, and you don't get involved, and you get invited to things.
I don't get involved at all.
Why?
It's a good question. I think what it was, there were a few defining moments, and look, I loved magic. It was my world. It's all I ever thought about. It's all I ever talked about. It's all I ever read about. All I ever watched on TV. I was in the summer holidays or the kids' holidays. I'd be in the basement of my house making stuff, gluing stuff, creating stuff, drawing stuff. It was it was my world. My mates were magicians. I used to get on trains and go travelling to other sides of the UK to visit mates who were magicians. It was an obsession. And I really enjoyed it. And there were a lot of really nice people, and there were a lot of really supportive people. But within the magic world as well, I felt that you couldn't even enjoy an element of success without a large portion of that world just being really bitchy. It was just, I mean, again, it might have changed now. Maybe it is much more of a supportive thing. But I can remember one of the defining moments. Like, I would get slagged off everywhere for the smallest thing. Can you believe he held the silk like that? I can't believe he held the silk like that. Oh my God, that's from that person's act. He's done that from that. Just when you won, like, the British Magical Championships, and you would walk into a room and you would walk away from a group of people and you could feel them talking about you as soon as you walked away. And I just thought, oh God, I'm not really built for this anymore. It's a very odd environment. And there was one particular time I was in Davenport, so I was buying some stuff. I was in there and this guy came up. This is around the time David Blaine came out with his first special. This is the man who single-handedly changed the face of magic forever, right? Up until then, he changed it in the way David Copperfield changed magic, right? David Nixon right, you start there. Paul Daniels, change. Suddenly, working class, gift of the gab. David Copperfield, massive stadium, models, just music, incredible. And then it went David Blaine. He was amazing. No one had seen anything like it before. The public loved him. And this guy walked into the shop and just was slagging him off. And I thought, why are you doing this? This guy's changed the face of magic. And there would always be more groups of people and I just thought, I can't be bothered with this anymore. Oh. So I stopped doing it because I just couldn't. I didn't have time, and I was busy doing my TV career anyway. But it's a shame. It's a real shame because I loved it. I loved it a lot, and I clearly put in the hours, and I had a few credentials. And the TV shows were going well. And for a while, I was doing pilots for a Saturday night magic show on BBC One with Andrew O'Connor and Ant Owen, and I was nearly there doing it nearly there for the Saturday night BBC One thing. And I suddenly went, forget it. And then I was with Rich as well, Dick from Dick and Dom, and I just went, actually, I'm going to put all my efforts into this. And in hindsight, I'm glad I did, because that took me in the right direction.
Yeah,
and
have you ever missed it? This is a long time ago, right? So, have you ever missed it? Has there ever been a time?
I stopped watching it on TV. But before, if I'd seen a magician on TV, I'd be like, press record button. But no, I didn't watch any of it on TV. Didn't. If anyone showed me a trick, I'd be like, oh God.
Do you know what? It's just suddenly hit me.
Yeah.
You don't know who the Ellick brothers are, do you?
Nope.
Wow. There you go.
Ellick brothers?
Yeah.
Oh,
so you imagine David Copperfield now.
Yeah.
They're these two German brothers, and they are superstars.
Are they?
And they have got the biggest, most incredible magic show you can possibly imagine. And they're coming to Wembley Arena to do one night on April the 6th.
Will it be full?
Who knows? They fill arenas in Germany. They do 2 shows a day. They're superstars.
Yeah,
you don't even know who they are.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's how out of touch I am. I don't know who won Young Magician of the Year. I don't know who's doing anything really. Yeah. Like I say, it's a shame because
do you still do it? Do you still do magic when you're with your mates in the pub who are not magicians? Or
no.
Are there lots of people in your life who don't even know it was part of your life potentially? Then
the only time I've done any magic recently is when I've got out my old suitcase that I used to do my kids' birthday parties in before I got on telly and stuff. When I used to earn money to do it, I used to do busking out on the streets as well in Exeter, and I've still got the same case. One of those nice old leather Harry Potter-y kind of ones. And inside I've got Rocky Raccoon, Lincoln Rings, I've got McCormickle Prediction, I've got a couple of other bits and bobs. And I do that for my kids at their birthday parties, or I did. They're grown up and embarrassed with me now, but I did them magic shows at their schools, and I would do that. And I enjoy that. But other than that, no, I don't go to parties with pockets busting full of tricks like I used to. Amazing. I used to go around, with a jacket full of is it called a top-it?
Yeah, top-it, yeah.
Yeah, top-it. I used to go top-it sewn into my jacket. I used to have wallets I could stick cards into. I used to have all sorts of stuff, pens for a pen through and all that kind of stuff. But now I don't even have a pack of Waddingtons.
When you were into it, right at your peak, you won Young Magician of the Year, you started to get on TV. At that point, where was your ambition? Did you want to be the next Wayne Dobson, next Paul Daniels? Or did you want to be in a theatre somewhere?
Yeah, I think I was on the same page as Stevie Mulhern, is that all we wanted when he was at CITV and I was at CBBC and he was doing magic and I was doing magic and he had a magic show and I had a magic show and he had a magic set and I had a magic set and we were doing the same thing. We both had exactly the same goal, which is to have the big Wayne Dobson, Paul Daniels magic show on either ITV for him or BBC for me.
Yeah.
That was absolutely the goal. And I knocked on doors and I knocked on doors and I knocked on doors until a producer friend of mine said, she said, when are you going to realise that your future is not in magic? Stop trying to sell me magic. Your future is with him. And pointed next door. You're in a double act, right?
Yeah.
You understand how this works? She said, your future is with that guy there. We were living together, right? Me and Rich, best mates, still are. And said, your future's with him. And that moment I just went, actually, yeah, I'm going to have to shelve the magic and crack on.
Wow.
But something weird's happened recently, and I started to get interested in magic again. It's really weird. I went to and I took some tricks, like you said, to some charity evening. We had dinner. And Ben Handler was performing, and he performed stand-up magic, and I thought, that's good. And he did 15 minutes, and that was it. It was really good. And so I took out a couple of tricks, and I did some magic for the first time in a long time. It was almost like therapy. And I started doing tricks, and I had totally forgotten what happens. And I mean that. I really had forgotten what happens when you do magic to people who don't know, who've never seen magic before in their lives, face to face. And it was amazing. People were just going, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was doing double lifts. I was doing sponge balls. I was putting salt into a thumb tip. I mean, I really wasn't doing anything that exciting. I think I was doing like a ring to keys on a reel. Actually, it might be in the old Mark Leverage one, whether I won't say how it's done. Buy it. And I did those. But the reaction was, and I got that little feeling again of, bloody hell, am I missing something here? Should I be back on the circuit? And actually, the woman from the speaker agency who had invited us there from Champions Talent said, I didn't know you could do any of this. And it suddenly dawned on me. She was about 27, 28. I suddenly went, oh my God, of course. You don't remember. Because I did it about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been about 20 years. And so you're probably too young to remember I do magic. You remember Bungalow and that's it. And it did make me think, oh, am I missing a trick here? You know, should I be getting back out on the circuit again? Should I go to these corporate events and do 15 minutes and do a stand-up magic show and walk off again?
I wonder if, maybe you should just start it as like your hobby again or something like that. But
well, yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one, really. Where do I go to do magic again? I mean, an obvious route would be to go to the Magic Circle and say, look, do you want me to host your Christmas show? Again, like I did back in, God, I can't remember the year. And I did it with John Archer and who else did I do it with? Gosh, I can't even remember who I did it with. But things like that are a softer kind of way of doing magic again. But I just don't think I can do it. I don't think my hands can do it.
Oh, of course they can.
It's weird. Every now and then I'll get my manipulation cards and I'll do my old Duncan Trillo, appearing cards, and I'll do that a little bit, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
Let's talk about your double act.
Yeah.
It's always interesting talking to someone in a double act. We've had Barry and Stuart on here and things like that, which we've had Morgan and West on as well.
Yeah. How long have you been in a double act for? I'm turning the
About
interview.
7 years, I think we've been doing it now. Yeah. How did the double act come? I mean, you said that lady said your future is with him, but But how did it? Did you just start pitching for TV shows together, or what was the first sort of thing?
The first thing that happened, I remember being at home in Devon, being a jobbing magician, watching CBBC, Children's BBC as it was then, revealing their new presenter called Richard. And I remember looking at him going, you bugger. That means they're not going to be hiring another male presenter for a good couple of years. And then I got a job on that programme you mentioned earlier called The Friday Zone, which was an attempt at bringing back Cracker Jack on a Friday afternoon, and it didn't really work very well. But anyway, it helped me get in there. And then I was a guest on the Broom Cupboard, the bits in between the programmes. He was there with a puppet aardvark called Dave, Otis the aardvark, and I arrived, and we just got on really well. I mean, you can only compare it to when you meet your partner that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. It's that same connection, and we just got on, and we got the same things, we got the same jokes, and we are absolutely connected by a wire. We are inseparable. We are safety in numbers. We're pack mentality. People almost feel not threatened, but intimidated when we're together. That's because if one of us gets our back up, the other one gets their back up, and but generally, we're good fun to work with. We have a lot of good fun together. We howl together, laughing all the time. We are there to prop each other up through good times, through bad. We celebrate the good times, like BAFTAs, stuff like that. That's great. And then the bad times, when you get some bad news or things aren't happening well in your private life, and the other one's there for you. So it really is like a second marriage. But I count myself very, very fortunate and very lucky to have a best friend in life like him.
That's amazing. You have done a couple of projects without him, and I found that interesting. You did Brainiac with John Tickle, and
yeah, that's right.
Rich wasn't there. So when a project like that comes along, is it kind of a conversation now of like, I mean, you would never get Ant without Deck. Well, you have for the last year or so, but you know that kind of thing.
Well,
is that a conversation between the two of you? Where
we're always very transparent. We wouldn't ever do anything now separate from each other without the other one knowing fully and approving it, and for there to be a logical reason. So, for example, Rich does a lot of charity stuff for dementia, Alzheimer's Society, because it's something that's relevant to him. I will do the odd magic thing. I'll do stuff for Dyslexia Association because that very much affects me, or Myeloma UK. So we will do our own projects, but only if there's a real reason, a relevant reason. We will not crusade on our own, trying to forge our own career, because if you want it to work, you've got to work together. But I did do a couple of projects on my own. That was because Rich was taking out some time from TV, because it was the whole bungalow experience was quite insane and intense.
Do you know,
and when that finished, he just went, you know what, mate, I need a year out. And I went, you know what, if you need a year out, that's cool, but I need to earn a living. So I did a couple of projects, which was good fun, but then I was pleased when he came back.
This is really interesting because I actually got notes on the bungalow, and I literally show you. It says what the process of making that show. It looked intense, which is
and I said intense.
What you've just said. I mean, is it fair to say that's still the most successful thing you guys have done? The In Da Bungalow. People remember it. It's sort of like legendary television, isn't it? Would you agree? It's sort of your thing.
That was our New York moment where you only have to do one thing. And that's put you on the map. You don't have to climb the ladder anymore because you've done it. We did it, and that was what we will always be. Doesn't matter what else we do from now on. Doesn't matter. I mean, it might happen that something else incredible happens, like what happened to Mel and Sue, where you do Bake Off, and it catapults you again into another into a new stratosphere. But that was definitely our time, and it was extraordinary. It really was utterly bizarre, and it almost feels like it never happened. I don't really remember it. Yeah. And every now and then, but like with the magic thing though as well, like I was saying, I don't watch any of it. I don't watch any bungalow stuff. I don't know anything really what happened. I don't watch any of it back. All I remember it being is utterly brilliant and feeling very, very successful. And with that probably comes an element of arrogance at the time, because you're unstoppable. You're an unstoppable force. We were literally... popular topic of conversation on Have I Got News For You every week. We were in Private Eye. We would be on Richard and Judy. We would be getting discussed in the House of Commons. We were on the front page of the Guardian Guide. We were on the front page of the Times. It was everywhere. It was big news for the BBC. And also the BBC were very good. They just let us get on with it as well. So no one tried to interfere because they realised it was just working the way it was between us and the producer and the sound guy and the lighting guy and the camera guy. It was all just... It just happened. And when you watch other programmes where it just happens like that as well, where everyone's on the same wavelength, you see programmes like The Big Breakfast, like TFI Friday, where everyone has synergy. Everyone's doing the same thing, and they're all on the same page. And that's just what happened. It was intense. It was crazy. We were giving out NME awards to members of Blur and stuff, falling downstairs, getting the award for the most drunk person there at the NME Awards. That's impressive.
That's amazing. You mentioned, so when it ended, Rich said he needed a year off from it. Looking back, do you feel was that a mistake to take? I remember Michael Viner's talked about that on this podcast, about how Darren once said that I want a year off, and he said to him, you'll have lots of years off, but we've got to keep going now. At this moment.
And did he take a year off?
Yeah, no, he didn't. Okay. They kept going. Did that, looking back on it, that year off, do you feel that was maybe a mistake? Or
it was actually okay. We were fortunate because he took the year off, and during that year I did a programme called Comic Relief Does Fame Academy with Sarah Kaywood, and that was great fun. But I was able to show what I could do as a live presenter, and the head of BBC One was watching at the time. He really liked it. Really said, I don't want you on your own, I want you and Rich. So me being off was great. He needed to be off, which is fine. And I still kind of was flying the flag for both of us, but on my own. And then we did a load of pilots for BBC One Saturday night. We did a load of pilots, and he was ready to put us on. Then unfortunately he had to resign because of the way that a trailer was made with the Queen, where it looked like she stormed out. and unfortunately he had to hand in his notice, and that meant when the controller leaves, a new one takes over and everything else is abolished. So we had nearly had our moment to get to BBC One. But having said that, that was fine. But we also got Radio 1 after that as well. So we did 2 years at Radio 1. We did Are You Smarter Than a 10-Year-Old? Big show. We then did a comedy drama. Then we've just not stopped working since.
Yeah.
So I do, what might have happened if we had carried on working straight off the back of the bungalow. You never know. But we're doing well now, and so it's right. And you never know, because what might have happened, we might have been given a turkey. Because we did have one turkey called Ask the Family, and that was terrible. And we might have been given another turkey, and if we'd done that within that year he took off, it might have all stopped.
Yes, yeah.
So the fact we're still doing it, I'm okay with that.
That's cool. Because you just mentioned you've done Radio 1, so you've done television, radio, and of course back when you were younger, the stage as well. I'm interested, which one do you get the biggest buzz from?
Radio.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Why?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Look, I can't get enough of it. Like this experience that we're doing now, it's just a couple of you in a room being creative and pressing buttons, and it's just so exciting. Radio is the best medium by far.
I saw your Edinburgh show last year.
Did you?
Absolutely loved it.
Why didn't you come along? Why didn't you say hello afterwards?
Because you're not a magician anymore. You wouldn't know who I was.
We were the same management.
We came to see the Edinburgh show. We absolutely loved it. It was
Were you both there?
Yeah, it was the most fun. We thought it was fantastic.
Oh my God.
I'm interested to know why you did Edinburgh. Why that was sort of came out of nowhere in a way.
Yeah.
Would I be right in saying that show? I mean, it was so good that I kind of went, you haven't written this for Edinburgh. Have you been doing that show for a long time?
Yeah, we've been doing that show for a long time. Yeah, long time. Unfair advantage, because a lot of people that do Edinburgh are doing a brand new show. They're testing it out. So we were okay. We had a lot of. I was talking to Rob Brydon about this, Clang, and because I know he's done Edinburgh for, a lot in the past. And I said I'm a little bit concerned because obviously we're an established act. Therefore, the focus is really on us to do a good job. What do you think our chances are? And he said, lads, don't worry, you'll nearly sell out every night. And we had a big venue as well. It was a big venue. And we were pretty much sold out every night. We had a couple that we were like 75%, but most of the time we nearly sold out. And we had, pick of the festival for best family show, all sorts of stuff. But he said, don't worry, because your name, you've got a head start.
Yes,
fine.
Absolutely.
And it was great fun. And yeah, we've been doing that.
So it was like a game show format.
But you know what, though? I would honestly say I wouldn't be able to... Because Rich will admit that he's learnt a lot from me in terms of stage work. And without the experience I've had as a magician working on stage, I wouldn't be able to do... In fact, do you know one show I would love to do that would remind me of how it felt to do my old acts on stage, my own choreographed Dove acts? And because if you don't know, you probably won't know this. You might remember when I used to do my Dove act... and my Grease act, I used to move a lot on stage. I would always be almost dancing, but not really dancing, but just using my whole body and moving to the music. And it was all very rhythmic because I was a drummer, so I understood rhythm and time and pattern and sequence and stuff. And I would love to do Strictly Come Dancing.
Would you?
I would do anything to do that, because that would remind me of that feeling that you had when you did magic choreographed to music. But we got offered it the first year. We turned it down. We said no because we thought it sounded silly doing magic to doing ballroom dancing on a Saturday night.
Well, I'm sure it will come along.
Maybe.
Definitely. So, will you go back to Edinburgh? Was it a one-off thing, or do you think we'll be able to see the show up there again, or a different show up there in the next year or two?
Edinburgh, I think we've done it now. I don't think we'll do it. I think if we did it again, we would only do it for like a 3-night run or something like that in a big theatre. I think in terms of doing the gruel of doing the long stint, we probably wouldn't. We did 2 weeks because the kids in Scotland go back after you've done 2 weeks, so there'd be no audience, so there's no point really. So I don't think we'd go back and do it. It was handy because Rich lives up in Scotland, so I stayed with him. Yeah, he lives in Edinburgh.
Oh,
so I slept on his sofa. Yeah,
there we go. We learnt something there. So I'm going to wrap things up now. Because
you got to go home.
Yeah, and there's people waiting for us to finish. I can tell. I just wanted to talk to you about something which I think about being in a double act, and I wonder if it ever comes to you. Thinks you. It's quite dramatic to say Siegfried and Roy are an example because they had a terrible accident. But do you ever think about the end of a double act? Do you ever think about naturally you're not going to die on the same day, right? So and obviously might be one day one of you changes, doesn't want to do it anymore.
They fall out with each other.
Have you guys ever had that chat? Have you ever talked about?
We haven't.
You haven't?
Very interesting. When the double act will finish, I think probably the media will finish. With the rate it's going now, the media will finish before we have a chance to end our career. It's so rapidly changing. I don't think we will ever not want to work with each other. We'll always want to do that. We've done it for 23 years now, and I think the race is on. We're set in stone, and we still got a lot of things we want to do, and we've not given up yet.
What things do you want to do? Let's finish on that. What things are you really still excited about, other than the hope that maybe you might bring back your Grease act
with the
motorbike?
With the motorbike, that's hilarious. I've got to say that I think the idea of me and Rich doing some kind of weird magic show together is a really good idea. I think, you look at things like Penn and Teller, you look at formats like the Magic Comedy Strip and stuff like that, and you look at Stuff the White Rabbit, or even Simon Drake's Secret Cabaret, and you think a hybrid of all of that, absolute mad magic, could be quite fun. I think we're possibly missing a trick. Because I've got something that I can do that no other double act can. I've got something up my sleeve that will set us apart from every other double act and give us a USP, and we're not using it, and no one knows I've got that tool. And
so, do I have my first exclusive of the series? Are you announcing here on the Magicians Podcast, in front of all of your peers, that you are coming out of retirement and you're going to give the magic a go again?
I think I'd like to, and I think it would be interesting to do it. What I would really love to do is to see if I can fit back into my tailcoat and do my dove act again and recreate it on a split screen next to me doing it when I was 16, 17, and see how it looks with this old, slightly balding, knackered man doing the dove act again.
Well, I've got the original footage if you need it.
I'll do it. I need it.
I'm going to tell you, Dom, I would pay to see that, so I hope you do it. This has been great. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
It's been great. Thanks for letting me exercise my demons. And magicians who are listening to this, don't be offended by anything I've said, and please don't get on social media and start slagging me off.
No, we need to welcome you back, not frighten you away.
There you go. There you go.
Thanks, Dom. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
That was a fascinating one, wasn't it? I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That was Dominic Wood. Thanks to Anthony Owen for helping to arrange that one too. That's it for this week. I hope you will join us again next Friday for another brand new episode of the Magicians Podcast. I'll see you then. Have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.